Minigames are a fun way to take a break from your regular game and play something a little bit more chill. In terms of Plants vs. Zombies, this comes in the form of 20 different minigame levels. Some of these are super fun, super replayable, and absolutely fantastic examples of what a minigame should be. Some of these, though, are not so good. Hi, my name is Sasquatch, and welcome back to the channel. Today, I'm going to be ranking all 20 minigames from 20th place to first place and telling you why I think this is my opinion. Now, of course, this is just that, my opinion. This video is going to be very subjective, so please don't take this to heart. If you like something that I don't, leave it down in the comments. First things first, what makes a good minigame? You can't have a list that's good without defining what is actually good in the first place. So, what makes a good minigame? Well, in my opinion, a good minigame is fun, replayable, doesn't get stale, and has a couple of different quirks that are different from the regular game. These quirks should be the primary focus of the minigame entirely, and the minigame overall should be a pleasant experience. It shouldn't change too much, but it should change just enough that it feels original and fun. So, without further ado, let's get started. Number 20, Slot Machine. Who doesn't love promoting gambling to children? This is the worst minigame in my opinion. It's inconsistent and it gets stale really quickly. There's not enough plant diversity, there's not enough consistency, and I just simply do not like this game. This minigame is all determined by RNG, and it doesn't seem all that super fun. You have to gain 2,000 sun in order to beat this minigame, but this feels a little bit like a drag. I feel like you're collecting way too much sun, and if you don't get a sun jackpot, you're kinda just sitting there waiting for your sunflowers to produce. Not to mention that you might not even get sunflowers for the first, 12 spins in general anyways. The entire minigame is random, and you could have a great experience the first time and a horrible experience the second time. That's why I just don't like this at all. I think that this minigame is too inconsistent and too erratic to be that fun. Number 19. Aquarium. Unique? Yes, but it is pretty boring, and it is thankfully shorter than Slot Machine. It's basically just Zombie Zen Garden. You play the game, the zombies will give you sun, and you have to get 1,000 of it. Again, it feels like a drag, but not so much like Slot Machine. Getting half as much sun is much better than Slot Machine's getting 2,000, especially since it feels a lot shorter and a lot more consistent. However, this minigame still isn't that great. It is just Zombie Zen Garden, and so once you've played it once, you don't ever have to play it again. Maybe you could make it a little bit more interesting if they had added more zombie types, but let's be honest, this game is 12 years old at this point? Number 18, It's Raining Seeds. I do not like this minigame at all. It's, again, just like Slot Machine, it is way too random, there's too much RNG, and there is just not enough consistency. Yes, there's plenty of replay value because of the fact that it's random, and you get a different selection of plants every time, but I feel like replay gets crushed when RNG decides to have its way with you. And your mother. And every other person in your life. Number 17, Invisigool. This minigame is interesting on paper, but in practice it is quite lackluster. There's only pea shooters and kernels as defending plants, and then after that you have squash and ice shroom as instants. This seems a little bit boring. I think it would have been more interesting if they had added more zombie types and more plants into the mix. You could add in things like puff shrooms or skatey shrooms, maybe even fume shrooms if you want. Things like melon pult, repeater, those kinds of things. And with all of that, add in different zombie types like footballs, catapults, zombonis. Gargantuars might be a cool addition to this one as well. The minigame gets stale way too quickly, and it just doesn't feel fun. The only quirk is that they're invisible, just like your father. Number 16, Big Trouble Little Zombie. This minigame describes me if you replace zombie with life. This minigame appears in 3.5. Nothing really changes when you see it again in the minigames menu, so it's just bland already. You've played it once, why would you need to play it again? Probably for that minigame trophy, but that's beside the point. Nothing really changes after you play it the second time, so I don't understand why you would need to play it twice, but who am I to say, whatever. This game isn't very diverse. Walnuts, lily pads, shooters, cherry bombs. Not many zombies to be worried about. Just footballs and snorkels. It gets stale, and it's not very fun because there's not enough zombies and there's not enough plants. Number 15, Begooled Twist. Okay, this minigame is the only one where it could be a skill issue. I do not like this, and I do not like the way it's controlled. I swear it's not just me. The twist mechanic is so weird and confusing, and oftentimes I will end up just clicking on random tiles to figure out where the match is. This just doesn't feel as fun to me as Begooled. The only thing that Begooled Twist is good for is improving on your twist technique that all of these youngins are talking about. Number 14, Whack-A-Zombie. Don't get me wrong, this is a good minigame, but again, you've already played it in adventure mode. Why did they put it in minigames? If you've already played it in adventure mode, I don't see why you would exactly want to play it again in the minigames menu. But regardless, I like the 2.5 version anyways, the one in adventure mode, because it has cherry bombs. It has cherry bombs, and including cherry bombs is a great idea. If you include cherry bombs in the minigame version, then it would be just as amazing. Though, to be honest, there's not much to this video game other than the fact that you get to hit zombies on the head with a wooden hammer. Number 13. Pogo Party. Okay, so initially this minigame was going to be ranked a lot lower, but then I replayed it, and I thought it was more fun than it initially was. I recently played this and realized that it was more fun than I gave it credit for, and while all the zombie types are the exact same, the interesting part is setting up and actually surviving. Trying to get glooms or melon pults with constant pogos coming at you is very difficult, but it's not as hard as it is frustrating. I like this minigame, but I think Bobsled did it a lot better. Number 12. Zombie Nibble, Zombie Quit. This minigame is the speedrunner's dream. I like this minigame, and it's very fun to optimize it, even if the concept of the minigame suffers from being quite basic. I love it when zombies just run at me at full speed like Usain Bolt. It makes me so happy. Number 11. Portal Combat. I think that this minigame is a pretty good baseline as to what other minigames should look like. The idea is great, and it doesn't get that stale. However, the portals could move a little bit more. If the portals moved a little bit more, then this would make this minigame so much more interesting. And of course, the more interesting the minigame, the more replay value there is, the more fun it is, the better the minigame. However, sometimes the portals do end up doing some of the most outrageous things that I've ever seen in my life. Please save me from this purgatory. What is this? What is this? Number 10, Zombotony. Cracking into top 10, we have an absolute classic. Zombotni, in my opinion, is the baseline for all good minigames. Of course, if you think about the concept, it's a little bit messed up. Yes, take the base game, add twisted amalgamations of dismembered plants, attach them to zombies as heads, and let the player go for it. Surely this won't have any traumatizing effects on our seemingly sentient lawn defense. I like this one a lot because there's a lot of different strategies that you can do for it. You can play it multiple times without it getting stale, and there are several different strategies that you can use. Just don't use puff shrooms, you weirdo. That being said, I do think Zombotni 2 is better. Number 9, Walnut Bowling. This minigame is another classic. This is better than Zombotni in my opinion because it's more fun and it's more charming. It takes a classic social game, bowling, and it integrates it into a fun, cool, and intriguing minigame that, even based on the soundtrack alone, will get you to play it more than once. Never go outside again. Even after the adventure level minigame, you can still have a good time in this minigame. It's so much better and so much more replayable than Whack-A-Zombie and Big Trouble Little Zombie because of the fact that it is fun and charming and cool, and I like it. Number 8. Seeing Stars. This is just a fantastic minigame. The quirk here is that you have to make a star out of stars. In my opinion, this is just a freaking great idea. Starfruit is a great plant, and it really gets to shine in this minigame. Otherwise, how would you know it exists? You can do this game without any other plants. All you need is Starfruit and Sunflower, and you can beat this minigame. But there are still more strategies that you can do in order to beat the minigame. You can do this minigame in a fun way, or you can do it in a fast way. You can do it in a fun and fast way. And I find great fun in trying to perfect the sun to starfruit ratio in the minigame and plant down stars. So many stars, so many stars, so many stars. Number 7, Bobsled Bonanza. Feel the rhythm, feel the rhyme, get on up, it's bobsled time, with Bobsled Bonanza taking the number 7 slot. The first person to guess that reference gets a cookie in the comments, by the way. This minigame is more interesting than Pogo Party because of one thing. one thing alone: Zombonis. These guys are complete game changers. You can't use gloom strategies, so you're starting to kind of get a little bit more on the more strategic side of this minigame. Now you have to think of other ways to play the game rather than just cheesing it with gloom shrooms. I do find it a little bit conflicting that you are almost required to take jalapeno, and if you're not required to take jalapeno, then you have to take at least one instant, though jalapeno-less is a great idea for a challenge. The other problem that I have with this minigame is that it relies so heavily on you having imitator. Without imitator and imitator jalapeno, you are left high and dry. That's pretty much the only complaint I have about this minigame though. Everything else is pretty straightforward. The setup is fun, and the execution of all 4 flags is super fun as well. Challenging tons of Zombonis and bobsleds feels super fun, and it keeps coming back because you can replay it multiple times with different strategies. And you can even challenge yourself with things like jalapeno-less or instant-less or things like that. I just think that this game is super good and a great example of what a minigame should look like. Number 6. Last Stand. This is basically survival, but instead of building your defense while the game is going, you get to plant it all before the game starts. It's a lot of fun, and you can use more than one strategy for this minigame too. It feels super replayable, and it's a lot of fun. I do kind of wish there was a hard version though, or an endless version, but other than that, this game is pretty good. Number 5. Walnut Bowling 2. Electric Boogaloo. Breaking top 5, we have Walnut's older brother taking the controller with some interesting additions to the first Walnut Bowling. We get big nuts. We get small nuts. We get nuts that will blow you. Nuts that explode. We have nuts that blow. Explodo nuts. With the inclusion of screen door zombies and this becomes a super fun and interesting minigame that is replayable on the account of wanting to watch massive walnuts crush every single zombie in the lane. Not only do they crush zombies, but they also take off their arms and limbs. Boy oh boy, is this minigame satisfying. Number 4. Zombotni 2. PTSD comes back to bite your plants in the butt whenever this one comes back. This time, the amalgamations are amped up to 10, with the inclusion of squash, tall nut, jalapeno, and gatling pea as zombies. But on a serious note, this minigame is super strong, and the dynamic between all of the different types of zombies makes this minigame very replayable and very, very fun. This minigame is also one of the harder minigames, which means that you have to find a way to get a strategy that doesn't just get torn to shreds by endless waves of jalapenos and gatling peas. This minigame is a lot of fun, and it's just hard enough to be in that perfect difficulty range. Not so easy that it's just plant glooms and not think, but also not hard enough to make you want to throw your mouse against the wall. Number 3. Begooled. The better version of Begooled is here to say hi, as it destroys the other one with absolutely no close races to be had whatsoever in any way. Begooled is so much better in every way to Begooled Twist that Begooled tells Begooled Twist to jump down a flight of stairs, making sure to hit its head on the metal railing on each floor on the way down. It is so nice. It is so easy to control. Oh boy. It makes Begooled such a good minigame, and a relief from Begooled Twist. Begooled Twist looks like a mistake now because of Begooled, and it's better than Candy Crush. What more could you want? Number 2. Call 'em like you see 'em. Say, we heard you like planting. So how would you like to plant 5 of everything you plant every single time you plant a plant? This game is so much fun. It just is. Go ahead and tell me that planting a column of jalapenos and watching them incinerate all of the undead carcasses shambling on your lawn isn't cool. Tell me it isn't cool! You get to watch all of the zombies turn into ash and then get blown into the wind, turning into something just as insignificant as grains of sand on the beach. Or humanity in the scale of the universe. This minigame is a lot of fun, it includes a lot of ideas, and I really, really like the concept. Planting 5 of a plant just sounds like so much fun to me. I don't know why, it just does. And it's really satisfying to see all of the zombies die whenever I do use jalapenos. Plus, the soundtrack is awesome, I love it so much, and it's my childhood. Number 1. Dr. Zomboss Revenge. Okay, you had to see this coming. It's the boss fight. It's just a better boss fight. Zomboss got upset that he couldn't eat your brains, so he decided to step on your house again and increase your rent by another $5 million. Thank you so much. Now you have to replace your roof and defeat this guy, all because he wanted 2 brain cells for breakfast. Anyways, the minigame is good. It has a lot of plant selections, plant varieties. I love the way that Zomboss is fought in general, and it's not super easy that you don't have to think. You have to think about this, and it's pretty fun to speedrun as well. It's a better version of the adventure boss fight. It's just a lot of fun, of course, to play this one. It's replayable. You can play it more than once and not get bored. And that, in my opinion, is exactly why Zomboss Revenge is my favorite minigame. So there you have it. Every single Plants vs. Zombies game ranked from absolute worst to absolute best. If you don't agree with me, then let me know down in the comments. I will enjoy reading why all of you are wrong. If you're new to the channel, of course, hit that like button and subscribe. And of course, have a freaking awesome day, and I hope you guys had happy holidays.